the season to be jolly. It's Christmas! Hello, welcome to Mel's Gluten-Free Symphony, where my aim is to sprinkle a little bit of gluten-free pizzazz in everything food. And in this video, I'll be showing you my ultimate rum-soaked, sweet and fruity and perfectly spiced Christmas pudding. Without further ado, let's dive in. What's a Christmas pudding without delicious dried fruit? My recipe contains a variety of dried fruits and spices. So first up is that sugary heat from the candied ginger. You'll need 20 grams of it. Next, you'll need approximately 55 grams of dates. I weighed mine with the seeds inside. You'll also need approximately 20 grams of a combination of candied papaya and orange and sweet lime peels. Next, you'll need 50 grams of dried cranberries. I'm using the unsweetened kind. You'll also need 75 grams of black raisins. And lastly, approximately 25 grams of dried apricots. Just like the dates, I've weighed them with the seeds. Now off to the prep. Keep an airtight container handy as you'll need to transfer all your prepped dried fruit into it. So there's nothing much to this really. You just need a good amount of elbow and shoulder grease to get you through it. And just chop away, working in whichever order you like. I chose to work with raisins first because, well, it's best to get the most time-consuming task out of the way. Your elbows will appreciate it. So I prefer black over golden raisins. They just have a deeper, richer sweetness to them. Once that's done, transfer them into the container. Now I'm working with the candied peels and papaya. Need to give my elbows a break. So I bought this from a local grocer in Mumbai, who allowed me to pick exactly what I wanted by weight. But as far as I know, the individual candied peels and papaya are available on Amazon as well. I guess you could add a combination of whatever is available in your area. The colors don't matter though, as the rum will turn all of it a hue of brown. So I'm just finely dicing this, by first cutting them into thin strips and then making perpendicular cuts. After you're done, transfer them into that container. Okay, now I'm ready to face those dates. If your dates are seedless, just finely dice them. Since these have seeds in them, I need to remove them first. I simply slit the dates and pull the seeds out, after which I finely chop them. Dates are a tad bit on the sticky side, so you may need some patience while chopping. Make sure to dice them finely, then set them aside. Next are those candied ginger slices. These are relatively easy to dice as they are thin and dry. Simply thinly slice them and dice them. Because it's pretty dry, it might turn a little powdery. That's alright, the flavor is what we're after. Once that's done, keep them in the container. Next up, those dried apricots. As you can tell, these aren't the candy type. I prefer these as they have a natural sweet tart flavor. Also, there's plenty of sweetness from the other dried and candied fruits, so this is just perfect. Just like the dates, these have seeds in them. But unlike the dates, these seeds are a tad bit difficult to remove. So the flesh of the apricots needs to be cut away from the seeds. After you've removed all the seeds, finely chop the flesh and keep it in the container. And the final component, those dried cranberries. Here too, I'm using an unsweetened variety because there's plenty of sweetness from the dried fruits overall. I don't think more sweetness is necessary. Simply finely chop these just like you did the raisins and topple them into that container. Ooh, it's Christmas in a box! Can it get any more Christmassy? Yes, it can, with good old rum. So I've got one of India's most iconic dark rums here, Old Monk. So to begin, I'm pouring about 1/3 of a cup to soak these sweet jewels. You'll need to soak these for a minimum of 5 days, topping up the rum every day. Stir the rum in after each addition and make sure there's a thin layer of rum always floating on the top. So I used an entire quarter, that's 180 ml, to get these beauties nice and plumped up by day 5. You could keep it for longer, but I don't find it necessary. I must be getting a lot of gasps from the pudding connoisseurs out there. I learned that as long as it's stored in an airtight container, these dried fruits will soak up all that rum within a week. And 180 ml is more than sufficient. Once you've got your most important ingredient prepped, I'm assuming it's day 5, and you're ready to whip up that pudding. So now let's move on to the dry ingredients. I've got 70 grams of jawar flour here, or sorghum flour as it's known in English, and I'm adding 40 grams of finely ground instant oats. So this really lightens up the texture of that pudding. And that's it for our flours. Now you need to add ½ teaspoon cinnamon powder, 1/8 teaspoon nutmeg powder, and 1/8 teaspoon clove powder. Next, just sprinkle in a pinch of salt and whisk all of that together till everything is well combined. Once that's done, keep it aside. Next, we've got to work on our wet ingredients. So first you'll need 1 egg, weighing approximately 55 grams. Then you'll need 35 grams of brown sugar. It's a little sticky as I weighed it in the same bowl as I did that egg. You'll also need 75 grams of softened butter. I'm using salted butter here. And pulp from half an apple. This apple weighs approximately 80 grams. Just slice it in half, remove the core, and roughly chop it in chunks and blend it till it turns pulpy. If you thought this cake wasn't fruity enough, this apple adds a delicious fruity denseness to the pudding. So topple that in, and using an electric whisk, blitz all of that together till it turns into a homogeneous mixture. It's okay if it looks a little split. That's just the butter that's curdled, as the water content in this mixture is quite high. It hasn't allowed the fats to fully emulsify. Furthermore, simply blitzing all the wet ingredients at once tends to have this effect. But like I said, it's okay, as the addition of flour generally fixes this curdled consistency. So stir that flour in and then blitz it. Pudding batter is quite forgivable. So don't be afraid to use an electric whisk, as there's no gluten that will develop here. Now is the time to begin preheating your oven to 165 degrees Celsius. My oven takes roughly 15 to 20 minutes to preheat, but you be the judge of your own oven. And voila, it's as good as any cake batter could be. Now add 75 grams of toned milk, not ml guys, grams, as volume isn't all that accurate, especially when it comes to baking. Then whisk that in till it forms a smooth, almost pancake-like batter. It's time to add those boozy fruits. See how these pieces have beautifully plumped up, and there's a good bit of rum still lingering around. That's a good indication of perfectly soaked fruits. Lastly, add in 20 grams of roughly chopped cashews. I forgot to clean my implements before, so I'm just doing that now. Make sure to get all that batter off your implements and into your pudding mix. Now just stir all of that around till your fruits and nuts are coated in your batter. I've got a 7.5 inch round baking tin here that's 2.5 inches in height that I've lined with baking paper on the base and greased with butter all over. Empty out your batter into the tin, making sure the batter is evenly spread out. I guess you could work with a 6.5 inch to 7 inch round tin as well. You'll end up with a slightly taller pudding, which is perfectly fine, which might look just as good, if not better. Now just make sure the top is flat and clean off your spatula. So for this to retain all the moisture of a pudding, you need to cover the top with 1 layer of baking paper, followed by 1 layer of foil. Gently press down the foil along the circumference of the tin. You want to wrap it in such a way that the steam has no chance of escaping. So tuck the foil to ensure it's secured around the tin. To be doubly secure, I use cotton twine to hold down the 2 layers by running it just below the rim of the tin and tying a knot at one end. We're getting close to the finale! Now in your preheated oven, pop this pudding baby in and bake it for 1 hour and 20 minutes. Take this time to kick your feet up, let your hair down, sing a carol or two. You deserve this break. Once that oven bell rings, wear those festive mittens and grab that pudding. Place it on your kitchen countertop to cool completely. Don't even pry open those layers. The steam will gradually continue to cook it, giving it a rich, dense mouthfeel. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see this! So once mine cooled, I popped it in the fridge to firm up overnight. It makes it easier to upturn out of the tin. First remove the twine, then unveil those layers, and ooh, look how it's left the sides of the tin. I'm pretty happy with that. But just to make sure it comes out cleanly, run a knife along the circumference of the pudding. Now get out that fancy holiday plate and upturn that pudding. And ta-da! It's ready for some bling! To decorate, I placed some tinsel leaves and 3 red cherries to give that pop of holly color. And there you have it, guys, my super rich and delectable Christmas pudding. Also, a big shout out to my mom for crocheting these absolutely gorgeous Christmas decorations. Thank you, Ma. I love you. You've always been so generous with your time and talent. I can't wait to flood my house with these. But of course, it ain't Christmas without some show-stopping fireworks. So I'm pouring about a 1/4 cup of the same dark old monk rum over the top and along the circumference as well. Be careful while doing this, guys. Make sure there are no kids or pets around. Next, light that pudding on fire. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did. Now you can create this very spectacle on Christmas Day at your home for all your loved ones. This is a tradition in my partner's family that they so lovingly shared with me every year. And I'm so happy that I get to continue this tradition and go out gluten-free style. When you slice into this rich, moist, dense cake, you'll notice that scrumptious cross-section, all studded with rum-soaked fruits. So good. Once you dish this out to your family and friends, they may not leave until they get seconds. When I first tested this recipe out a couple of years ago, I was blown away by how all the flavors so beautifully melded together. It's fit for any special occasion, but Christmas is by far the best holiday for this queen of puddings. It's pretty tempting sitting right next to me, so I'm gonna take a bite. I know, it's not yet Christmas, but I have to taste it. I'm doing it for you guys. What if I need to change the recipe? Those flavors and textures get me every single time. The earthy spices perfectly complement the sweetness from those dried fruits and the nutty notes from the cashews and that sweet rum flavor. It's just paradise in a morsel. You don't have to be on a gluten-free diet to relish this pudding. So try it out for yourself and share those pictures by tagging me on Instagram. Also, don't forget to spread the good word of this gluten-free Christmas pudding recipe. Happy holidays! Take care! Mwah.